You had me at Cello, Cello. You had me at Cello. You had me at Cello. Oh, you had me at Cello. Playing the cello has so many pluses. It never grows old.
Good afternoon, everybody. 5 o'clock on a Friday again. Time for Cello Chat. I am very excited. This week I have with me as a special guest, Tulio Rondon. How are you doing, Dr. Rondon?
I'm doing great, thank you. It's a nice summer this summer.
It has been. Well, it's great to have you on the program here. Can you tell about yourself and how you got where you are to viewers who aren't familiar yet?
Sure. Well, it has been a long journey because I'm from Venezuela originally, as everybody probably can tell my accent. So I've been in a lot of places, and how I started the cello is kind of funny because I wanted to play the trumpet and then I wanted to play the saxophone, and I'm the youngest in my family, and my brothers told me, nope, you're playing a string instrument. Or not even that, like you're playing an instrument from the orchestra that is not brass. And so my brother took me specifically to the day where they were teaching strings, violin, viola, and cello. So I picked the cello because I thought it was the prettiest instrument. So I'm very glad. I actually thank my brother all the time because I do feel that playing the saxophone or the trumpet would have been the same for me. Not that there are bad instruments, but this is way better for me, I think. So I started in Venezuela in a program called El Sistema, which is very intense, but it's very good. So it's very, it's charged with a lot of programming, especially orchestra. I remember I got the cello and they throw me in an orchestra to play Beethoven Fifth Symphony, and I didn't even know what the notes were on the open strings, you know? So, but it was really amazing because even though you have like no idea what's going on, there were people playing, so you felt like you were in an orchestra. So psychologically, it actually worked. It's really amazing. Of course, I didn't play in that concert. They just put me there and then. But it was very intense. It was really fun. And then after I did have lessons in the conservatory, first in my city, and then I went to Caracas. And then after I did my undergraduate, I moved. I had this is kind of a funny story because my chamber music teacher was a flute player that is a very good friend of mine now. And he had some friends in Canada studying with the Penderecki quartet, and they needed a cellist for their quartet. And he said, there is this audition, you should take it. And I was planning to go to Germany because my brother was in Germany studying. And I said, sure. And then I didn't do anything about it. And the next week lessons, he's like, do you apply for the quartet? And I said, no. And he said, like, if you don't apply to this, I'm going to fail your class, which was totally a bluff. But I did it and I won the audition. So I ended up in Canada studying with this quartet. And then I went to do a master in Ohio and Miami University. Then I left the quartet and I went to do a doctorate. And after I do a doctorate, I really wanted to keep practicing. And I got interested early on early instruments. So I decided to go to the Netherlands to play viola da gamba and baroque cello. So being a long journey, but really fun because I have met a lot of people from all over the world. And so then I moved to Eau Claire to have this wonderful job that I have now with a lot of students, which is great.
Excellent. Now, have you gotten involved at all in El Sistema USA? Or
No, I haven't. I have friends that have been there, and I have talked in a few conferences about it, but about my experience basically. And here locally also, we have wonderful teachers, and so they try to implement some of the things that I've told them. But
all right.
no, I haven't.
All right.
I love to, but I actually don't know where they're based. I know there's some very a huge amount of work on the Sistema in LA because of the conductor, Dudamel. But in Boston, the most people I know has come from Boston, I think, and that have been actually gone to Venezuela to learn, and then they come back to teach.
All right. Now, this career of performing both on modern cello, as it were, which is still an old instrument, of course,
Yeah.
and viola da gamba. I'm curious both from the standpoint of how does the playing of one influence the playing of the other? How do you think about the technique of both? And then also in getting gigs, lining up performances, how do you go about kind of distributing or finding performances for both?
That's a good question, because when I started playing, I remember just not caring about playing all of them at the same time. For example, I remember I did a recital, the only and last one that I did, where the first half I played baroque cello and 415, and the second half modern cello, modern music. That was a big mistake. It was really hard to do. So now I try to space it and make sure I can concentrate some weeks on one instrument in order to practice and get the feel. With the viola da gamba, I really look at it as a very different instrument, even though some of the positions are related. And the underhold of the gamba, if anybody knows this is how the cello bow would hold. And actually, I have tried some of the suites doing it that way, just for fun. But the viola da gamba to me is very, very different in terms of how it feels, and how especially because of the bow technique, is very different way to get the sound out of the instrument. So I think it informs the playing of your cello, but not in a technical way, but more in a musical way. What it does inform, which I do have a class in my university that I created, is called the Baroque Ensemble, which it didn't exist before I came here. And one of the reason, or the primary reason I do it, is to show my students and to have them experience what I experienced as a cellist when I started Baroque cello, which is my modern bow technique increased like crazy. It was because of the understanding of, or like the removal of all the cheating elements that you have in modern cello, like vibrato and the modern strings that respond a lot better. So you have to do a lot more effort with a baroque bow. So that informed my modern playing, or my regular cello playing, a lot. So I have that class with that in mind, and I concentrate in this class to teach students how to, even though there's sometimes we have both are baroque, but the instruments are not baroque, but the both sometimes are. But even with modern bows, you can still do the same. As soon as you remove vibrato and you have to do all the nuances of the music and phrasing with the bow by itself, it already informs your bow incredibly. Of course, you can do that with the gamba too, or you do that with the gamba too, but because of the different technique, it's a lot more, so it's a different way to inform your cello, and it's harder to kind of look at it that way. Also, the gamba has frets, so if you have gamba in tune, which is kind of sometimes hard because there's too many instruments and they're got strings, but if it's in tune, you will be in tune.
And then you keep tuning it.
Yeah, exactly, forever. Yeah, exactly.
So I love that point that you just made. And it seems, for example, some people get just blind to their habits of using their bow and doing something that just shakes things up completely, like holding it in an entirely different way, can get them focused on, no, it's about the interaction between the point of contact and the string. It draws their brain there. And then when they go back to holding it the way that they were used to, they don't necessarily take their bow hold for granted.
Right. Yeah.
Find that to be the case.
Yeah. And to me, like, I mean, this is after I did completed my doctorate that I experienced this, which is, it was really revealing to me, because it's not that none of my teachers told me about and anything about the bow. They all told me, and I understood it, and I knew what I was going to do, and I knew what I should be doing. But just the experience, the physical experience of changing the technique from other instruments makes that like a revelation in a way. At least it did to me. And I found that it does with my students too. One of the things that I talk about the bow is how like I feel that you need to feel your fingers kind of like this is not a new thing everybody says it. All your teachers probably tell you the same, like the bow is an extension of your arm, blah blah blah, and the fingers, but the actual way to feel it, like it's very tactile, you know, like you could, I tell my students that you could, like, you should imagine you can shape the sounds and shape the phrasing with your finger, like you're touching it, like Play-Doh kind of thing.
Nice.
And that I actually experience a lot more after I play my baroque cello, because there is no way you can do anything else but that in the baroque cello when you remove all of it. And then the strings also like react in a way that you can do that a little bit more. Not that you can do a little bit more, but if you don't do it, it really sounds not great.
Right,
So
right.
you are forced to, like, our modern instruments are, they let us you know, they're easier in a way for this, they let us get by with a lot more, you know, things. So
It's true. Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Mm.
All right. So the topic of motivation. I mean, I have no idea in the country how many people there are, not just cello players, but on all manner of instruments, where they profess, I mean, and they mean it, that they play a particular instrument and they like that instrument, but that they just don't practice. They don't get out their instrument and play. And then there's a population of people that once they've learned how to get into that habit, or how to motivate themselves, or whatever, they love the fact that they do play their instrument. So what are some of your favorite ways to get people from that first category to that second category?
Yeah, well, I think that's a hard topic, because everybody is different, of course, and everybody gets motivated differently. But I love telling my students that I was the worst person for practicing, and the most undisciplined person ever. I was, and I am very grateful to all of my teachers that taught me how to do it and where to do it. But one of them gave me a really good, I'm a little bit ADD, and like I go from here to here to here. That's why I play so many instruments, you know. I think that's the reason why I jump from one thing to another. And one professor told me, make me actually, you're gonna do this schedule. And just by putting everything, this is more on how to practice instead of motivation, but I think it's very important, because as you mentioned before, when you get that, when you click that part where you are enjoying your practicing, or practicing doesn't seem like a drag, then it's a lot easier. And that's what happened to me. I hated practicing, I hated scale, I hated all of it. I just wanted to play my repertoire, right? Like everybody. I just wanted to get the cello and magically play like Yo-Yo Ma, you know, which is not a thing. So so I had to put, and I make my students do this too, because it's very helpful. Just write everything you practice, every detail, like the metronome marking. Not only that keeps you concentrated and also organized, but then at the end of the week, or at the end of the month, however you want to calculate it, you will see like, well, because this happened to me, I will, you know, think that I was playing all day, and I was playing all day long, and then not improving. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I'm playing the cello all day. But then I realized by doing this that I was just fooling around with the cello, just playing all this stuff and not really practicing. So when you put it in paper, at the end, you realize, oh, I am practicing I am playing a lot, but I'm actually not practicing the scales and the arpeggios and all these things and the etudes and whatever in an organized way. And also helps you or help me and help my students when you have all this in a schedule, and then you see I'm doing all the correct things and I'm not getting better either, then that helps you understand how to practice a little bit more efficiently, right? To kind of tweak and really manage what you do. So, and sorry, I want absolutely in the other way from your question, but for encouraging students to practice, I think one of the most important things from a teacher perspective is to tell your students how to practice. Because when you practice efficiently, you practice in a way less time and you get better if you're really, really efficient. And that will make you want to play the cello better, because if you're playing the cello for hours and you don't get better, then you kind of think, well, why am I going to practice? This is not fun, right? So in terms of encouraging or like for yourself to say like, oh, I want to practice, it depends of people. Some people really like listening and watching videos, and after doing that, they come and play, right? And they or like repertoire, they see a piece that they want to play and they're playing it, or it really depends of all of it. But I think learning how to practice is kind of an important key, because then you get less bored and then you get better faster. Of course, it's not immediate, but it's quantifiable if you actually pay attention to what you're doing. Record yourself. That also is motivating, because then you can see like from one week to another, oh, I got better. So this is going well, you know. And if it don't get discouraged if it doesn't go better, just tweak how you're practicing and how you can make it, because really nobody can tell you right away. Of course, your teacher can tell you, because he or she is looking and listening to you all the time. So little by little, we'll get to the understanding how do you learn the best, or hopefully, right, and how you can practice the best. But it's hard for somebody to tell you this is how you do it. So it's important for you to also understand how you function with your practicing. And you can be as little as you want to be, 8 years old, and understand that it's amazing. Like, we can do it. It's just, you know, being disciplined is hard. For some people are not. Like, I have students that are super disciplined, and I envy them because they're so young, and they're usually my scientist students, you know, the people that also do sciences. They are so good. I have 2 of them right now, and they're just I don't have to tell them anything. It's just like they inspire me, actually, because they're practicing so much. It's really wonderful to see. So, but some of us are not. I am not disciplined. I still have to put everything in boxes to be able to keep at it. Otherwise, I start like, oh, I want to play Bach now. Oh, you know, it's hard for me, but
Yeah.
it's okay. There is a way to do it.
Yes. Excellent. That's very inspirational. Wonderful points. Knowing what we're trying to do when we get out our instrument, you know, just what am I trying to accomplish and how am I going to go about it? And then you have to know that one is going to lead to the other, that's
Yeah.
going to lead you where you want to go. And so it takes a lot of, like what you say, major part of the discipline is in the focus of the attention and
Right.
intentionality. And I think for some people, maybe they don't realize how much they've gotten in the habit of just letting their brain wander when they have their instrument in their hands or something. And learning to really focus and enjoy that focus when you're playing the instrument. I don't know, it's as though certain people are kind of afraid of that's gonna seem like it's hard work. But I mean, when you have a sport that you enjoy like tennis and you're wanting to win the match, your focus is right there. You can't be daydreaming when the serve comes at you. And that's part of the fun, is really having your focus right there. So just to be able to train yourself to do that level of mental discipline and intentional practice when you're practicing, I can't think of anybody who does have that mental discipline and intentional plan when they're practicing, who also is in that category of, oh, but I have a real hard time getting myself to practice on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's a good point. And your analogies to sport are always great. Like, I also do that to my students, specifically on the topic of like warming up and practicing the scales. And I mean, some people say that they like playing scales. I think that's not a true, like, no, imagine you wake up in the morning and you can play perfectly, right, without playing scales. But they're very important. It's like being a sport person, you know, like if you're in the NBA or whatever, like in order to get to that high level, you have to practice every day for hours, just like the one technique, like shoot from one place for hours, right? It's the same for us trying to play scales. And, you know, I tell my students, just look at any piece from any part of the centuries, right? They're all scales and arpeggios. So it makes sense to practice our scales and arpeggios because that's what the music is. It kind of sounds very simple, but it's true. So it's very important to do that. Yeah.
Excellent. So what are some of your upcoming performances or projects that you're working on for the 2022-2023?
Yeah, so I have a concert next month. Wait, no, in October, of Latin American music. I have a colleague here from Brazil that teaches guitar, and we're gonna play some real, well, all of it is real music, but like music is specifically written for guitar and cello, but also we're doing some arrangements of Venezuelan and Brazilian music, like popular music, which is fun. I never done that actually with the cello since I was in Venezuela, so I think it's gonna be very fun. Then I have a couple of chamber music concerts at the end of the semester, and then the next semester after that, in the spring, I'm playing the Dvorak, which I should start playing. I should start practicing from yesterday. That's one of the biggies, so that's gonna be fun. So.
Nice. Yeah, that is a fun piece to play, but third movement in particular is treacherous, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's great. It's all really wonderful.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny to me sometimes certain pieces in music in general, and including in the cello repertoire, I have a hard time understanding why this piece is super popular and this other great piece is hardly known at all. But in the case of things like the Dvorak Cello Concerto, it's easy to understand why it has the popularity that it does.
Yeah. I actually played a concerto a few years ago with the orchestra here at the university. That is one of those things that a lot of people don't play, and it's one of the most amazing concertos and fun to play. It's hard, but it's fun to play. The Walton Cello Concerto is really great piece, and a lot of people don't play it. It's kind of funny, but it's a great piece. So, but it's true. Like some pieces people don't play, and some people play too much.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The Venezuelan music that I'm gonna play is they're called they're waltzes from like the 20s and 30s, and they're very much like the old music that my grandma used to listen to. Nice. And they're not waltzes like Austrian waltzes. They're like the rhythm of the accompaniment is like chaka 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 chaka, so they're like very slow, and all the words of the words are usually about mundane things. Like one of the songs I'm gonna play is called let's see how you translate this, the ice cream man was class, or the classy ice cream man, right? So it's like it's just talking about the ice cream person that came every day when they were kids, and he was a very nice gentleman, you know. And then the other songs they're about, you know, just like very mundane things. So not love at all, or not like romantic music. It's just very, very simple things. I don't know what the Brazilian songs are going to be yet, but in terms of relationship, there's not very much. Because Brazil is the only country that was a colony of Portugal, and the rest of the countries are colonies of Spain. So even though culturally they're kind of similar, the language, to start with, it's just the language is Portuguese against Spanish, which is different. So that influenced a lot the music, how the phrases are going, like when you listen to Brazilian music and another from any Spanish speaking country, you can see the influence of the language, of course, like every music in the world. So and then the rhythms are different. Brazilian has had at the beginning of their colonies a bigger concentration of black slave from Africa, because Portugal had a lot more colonies in Africa, so they had access to more slave. So, but that in modern times, and also in all of its history, have informed the music. So they have a lot more. It's not like in other Latin American countries, we don't have African influence because we all had some kind of slavery also, right? But the population is a lot bigger. Also, Brazil is huge. It's a very big country. So so the music is very different, and especially the Afro influence is very different from each country. So
interesting. Well, that sounds like a fun concert too.
It should be. I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Good, great. Well, thanks so much, Tulio. This has been really wonderful to hear your story and your thoughts. And I know that the viewers are going to be supercharged for an inspired weekend of practicing.
Woohoo! I hope so. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this for your students and all the cello population. This is great.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun. That's for sure. All right. Have a great year and take care. And everybody, will see you next Friday at 5.